Alone in the Dark was one of the PS Plus monthly games back in June, and since it's October, I decided to play and platinum it.
I'm so afraid of the dark.
The story begins with our two main characters, Emily Hartwood and Edward Carnby, driving to Derceto, which is basically like Arkham Asylum, where Emily hopes to find her uncle who she got a pretty worrying letter from. I got to pick who to play as, so for my first playthrough, I went with Edward Carnby, and wait a minute, dude, that's the Red Guardian? Yeah, Edward is played by David Harbour, and Emily is played by Jodie Comer, which I didn't expect, but there was something else that was familiar about Edward as I was playing, and as I played the start of the game, I realised he kinda has Linkara vibes. Anyone else think that? No, just me? Okay then.
You're learning.
As I made my way through the little courtyard area, I finally found a way inside the house and got a trophy for breaking in. I opened the door to let Emily into the house, then we got introduced to the quirky cast of characters in the game. Apparently, Emily's uncle Jeremy Hartwood had gone missing and ran off somewhere. We headed up to his room and after seeing some creepypasta picture of her uncle, Emily ran off to go see Dr. Gray. He was really supposed to be looking after Jeremy and, trying to help him, but the moment Edward left the room, he ended up in the French Quarter somehow. And here I got to experience a bit of combat in this game, as there's monsters around this place. I got a trophy here for defeating an enemy with a ranged weapon. The reloading in this game is crazy, by the way. Edward specifically takes forever to reload the gun he has. I ran into a guy called Batiste down here who works at Derceto, and he let us know that Jeremy had some sort of object that he was using to move around and hide in places. He apparently got it from Miss Jackson, who lived just down the street here, so that's where I headed next to see what I could find out about it. On my way there, I found this pipe, and after beating up an enemy with it, I got a trophy. Once I got to Miss Jackson's place, I found a talisman of my own and got another trophy. Just like Jeremy, I could use this talisman to travel to places if I entered the correct numbers. I knew the numbers from a clue I'd picked up, and after entering them, a doorway started shining, and after going through it, I found myself back in Derceto in Dr. Gray's office of all places. And after having a chat with him, I entered chapter 2 of the game. Next I got to have a good explore around Derceto, and exploring the manor and solving the puzzles was definitely my favourite part of the game. It reminded me a bit of Resident Evil 1, and kinda makes me excited for what a potential remake of that game could look like. I was mostly trying to repair the talisman sockets in both the boiler and the clock. Fixing both of these would take me to another one of Jeremy's memories where he could potentially be hiding. I found the pieces I needed to fix it, and after doing a bit of a sliding puzzle, I got a trophy for putting the talisman socket back together. I entered the numbers on top of the clock into the talisman, and after doing that, I ended up in the oil rig. Here I got to fight a few more enemies. I also broke my first barrier that was in my way, which got me a trophy. I carried on making my way through this place, and after using the zip line, I arrived at the Hateful Mound, where I ran into Batiste's sister who was also looking for Jeremy. She had his bag, and she was using it to basically try and lure Jeremy to her. As they were talking, this giant creature started to attack, and Edward just about escaped with Jeremy's bag. Once I was back, I got a trophy for opening the bag, and inside of it, I found a couple clues, but most importantly, I found a palette knife, as well as the key to the sitting room. I also got the shotgun that was in this room as well, which was also as painful to reload as Edward's other gun, but we'll get to that. And I also found this dog collar, which completed my first set of the collectibles in this game, which got me a trophy. I had to get every collectible in the game to get the platinum. There's 15 sets of 3 to collect, and while I could have looked up a guide, on this first playthrough, I was trying to find as many as I could by myself. I was also trying to do the same for the clues in the game as well, which were things like pieces of paper and people's diaries, stuff like that. With this new palette knife, I could remove wedges that were stuck under doors, which allowed me to explore a bit more of the manor. As I was exploring, I bumped into Grace in Cassandra's room, who to be honest, is a character I don't really understand, even after beating the game, but yeah, you'll see why later. In this room, I solved the puzzle with some medicine bottles and zodiac signs, and after doing that, I got a piece of broken plate that I could use in the boiler room. I made my way down to the boiler room, as I had both plates now, as I'd got another one from seeing this creepy vision of Jeremy earlier, and after using the talisman here, I arrived at the chapel. Just like the oil rig, there were loads of enemies here, and after using my shotgun for the first time, I got a trophy for defeating an enemy with it. The shotgun's powerful, but the fact that you can only have 2 bullets loaded at one time is crazy, especially as it takes so long to reload. People say Red Dead 2 is too realistic, but this is definitely worse than that. I was looking for Jeremy around here, and after using these medallion things, I got to where he was hiding and finally got to have a chat with him. He says that he's made some sort of terrible promise with the Dark Man.
The Dark Man. Who is he?
No, don't say his name. He can hear us. He's always listening.
and he's essentially promised to sacrifice himself to contain some sort of evil within Deseto. If you're not understanding any of the story, don't worry, I was completely lost at this point too. And yeah, it only gets more complicated and convoluted from here, so yeah, let's continue. We haven't even got to bloody Tower Ella yet. Just as Edward was talking with Jeremy, the Dark Man appeared, and all of a sudden he was back in Deseto, and I got a trophy after that for talking to Jeremy. I solved the telescope puzzle next, and after using the talisman, I found myself in chapter 3 in Tarouella, and I got another trophy for getting here. Tarouella is basically a made up place that Dr. Gray suggested Jeremy to make to put his mind at ease. There's a guy called Juan here, who is an author of a book Jeremy liked once, and he's also just completely made up from Jeremy's mind. He suggests going to the library here to find out more about Jeremy's relationship with the Dark Man, but he also warned us that the Dark Man was in there as well. This part of the game was probably the scariest, or just creepiest I guess. As I made my way through the library, the Dark Man appeared, and the way he would just pop out of nowhere was kinda scary. And it did make me jump once or twice, I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't get too close to him, otherwise I'd just die of fear I guess. And anytime I held my gun at him, Edward just held it at his head instead. Once I finally escaped him, I found this book Jeremy had written, but just as Edward was reading it, the Dark Man just grabbed it from his hands. He did it very gently to be fair. Don't know why Edward didn't just, you know, hold on to it. Anyway, Juan ends up rescuing Edward, and after that, we were back in Deseto. Next, we got properly introduced to Ruth. She also seems to have some crazy powers because somehow she took us to the Preg Shipping Company, which was a place that was mentioned by Jeremy in his book. I did have a little nose at the trophy list here, and I noticed one I could get by defeating an enemy with fire. There were loads of fire bottles around this place, and after shooting an enemy and throwing a bottle at it, I got the trophy. I also got another trophy here for defeating an enemy with an opportunity, which I got by killing an enemy with a brick. After going through the sewers, I got into the shipping company building to hopefully find the address where Jeremy first met the Dark Man. I found a Tommy gun here as well, which was pretty cool. The puzzle involving this safe here was needlessly difficult though. It's hard to even describe, but you'd think you just have to turn the dial a certain number of times, but it's more like a clock I guess, and you have to match the numbers. I don't even know. And also I had no idea if I had to turn it left or right, and yeah, this took me a while. The puzzles with the saves in this game was pretty much the only puzzles I had to look up online how to solve. Eventually, I unlocked it though, and made my way to where Jeremy first met the Dark Man. After a cutscene with Jeremy, I used the talisman on this coffin, and I ended up in this desert which got me a trophy. I made my way down into this sunken temple, and here, I was trying to find a way to break Jeremy's pact with the Dark Man. There were these annoying bats flying around, and after killing one, I got a trophy for defeating an enemy with my Tommy gun for the first time. There were a few puzzles down here involving these beams of light, and after solving all of them, the temple started to collapse. I managed to find the Dark Man's contract down here, as well as this knife. After grabbing them, the bat things grabbed Edward and carried him out, which was pretty cool, and before I knew it, we were back in Deseto with Emily and I got a trophy. I then went and collected all of Grace's drawings, which allowed me to see Edward Carnby's past and how he's connected to Grace. I followed the steps he took in solving a case, and at the end, it's revealed that he saved Grace from drowning, but let her dad die for some reason. Kinda like the opposite of iRobot, I guess. And doing that kinda ruins Grace's life as her mum didn't really care about her, which I guess is how she ended up in Deseto. Don't worry, the story gets even more complicated from here, and I also got another trophy for finishing that little section. Next, I fixed this model of Jeremy's darkness using a piece I got from putting together this scan of his brain, and using the talisman on the model took me to this boat that I guess Jeremy was on at one point. After playing through that little section, I ended up escaping into Dr. Gray's office somehow, and also Jeremy was there, but also wasn't there, and at this point I'd completely checked out of the story. I was like, what the heck is even going on right now? Even Edward was confused at this point, and he just started to quote Alex Yeek.
Find
Hey,
focus.
hey, I'm right here. What the hell is going on?
Bella, what the hell is going on?
You look vaguely ethnic?
Anyway, I got a trophy for finishing that boat section. I had to break into Dr. Gray's apartment next, and it's pretty cool because this is like a fixed camera part of the game, which is a bit like the older Alone in the Dark games I think. I got a trophy for getting here. I solved a few puzzles here, and then walked into this wardrobe which took me to that place from Monsters Inc.
Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me.
What's wrong with you?
And apparently this place was hell, and I got a trophy for getting here. All of a sudden, I was in these snowy mountains, and I was using a flare gun to make my way through it. Bro, I felt like Batman during this bit. I climbed to the top of this place, and there was this zombie guy that I killed who was apparently a human who was turned into some sort of monster by the Dark Man. After I defeated him, I got a trophy for playing for more than 8 hours in the game. And after solving a puzzle, I had to fight him again. Edward ended up stabbing him in the eye with the knife from earlier, and I ended up falling off the mountain like in Harry Harry Potter. They travelled through all of the areas in the game, but once I got back to Deseto, it was revealed that the monster was Jeremy all along, and Edward had just lobotomized him by accident. Doing that broke his pact with the Dark Man and I got a trophy. Thought I'd gotten some sort of bad ending here, but this wasn't actually the bad ending, the real one's a lot worse. All of the residents of Deseto were getting ready to have their little celebration thing, but then in a cutscene it's revealed that they're all in some sort of cult, and they're sacrificing Grace to awaken this like ancient demon from this tree. I guess this was what Jeremy was trying to stop by sacrificing himself, but I don't even know. Dude, I was so confused at this point. The tree ended up killing almost all of them, and I had to beat this boss battle against it. I was on normal difficulty, but it was still a really annoying fight. It's mostly the reload times that mess me up. I'd shoot it twice, then have to reload for like 10 seconds. Also, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff to heal myself with either, so the enemies that spawned could kill me pretty easily if I wasn't careful.
You know, this is starting to piss me off, actually.
I'm pretty sure this was also the first time in the game where I was actually using the dodge as well, but I did eventually manage to beat it, and after doing that, I finally finished the game. Beating the Black Goat and completing the game as Edward got me the trophy case closed. It's funny because in an interview, David Harbour says this:
Alone in the Dark has been through such various iterations of, and they've been terrible. Like in the past, they went through a period where they were really like weird games that didn't make any sense.
Which, I mean, I'm not saying the game's terrible or anything, but parts of the story are just really hard to follow. And I haven't even talked about the secret endings yet.
What are you doing?
Well, ow, Jesus Christ, wait, did I just get AIDS?
I decided to do a playthrough as Emily next to get the exclusive collectibles you can only get as her. All of your collectibles and clues carry over between playthroughs, and I did pretty good on my first run as Edward getting them. I was only missing like a few. There's certain little bonuses you get from completing sets of them, with one of them being a cutscene with Jeremy considering to end it all in the loft. I got a trophy after watching that cutscene. One of the main differences in Emily's playthrough though, is that you get to know the truth of how her fiance died. It's actually pretty cool. You get to play in these World War I trenches, and you find out that she made up a story of him dying in battle, whereas in reality he got the Spanish flu and was sent to Deseto, where he eventually died after Emily abandoned him. In the morgue he was in, I found the last collectible I needed to finish the last set, and I got a trophy for completing all of them. I used the key to get out, and that was actually the last lock I needed to unlock to open every safe and lock in the game, which got me another trophy. And then after leaving the morgue, I got the trophy I abandoned him for watching Emily witness her awful past. For completing that last set of collectibles, it allowed me to go for one of the secret endings in the game you can only get by playing as Emily. Basically, in Dr. Gray's apartment, I could use paint thinner on this painting Emily had been carrying around since the start of the game, and on it, it showed me how to get a secret ending. During the cutscene after fighting that zombie guy, I had to use the left stick to move the gun down, and I had to then use the right stick to move Emily's hand up to make the sign that was shown in the painting. I googled how to do this, so there was no way I would have known how to do that. The cutscene then plays of Emily, Grace and Ruth in the temple, and to be honest, I have no idea what's going on here. I made sure to save before doing that, so I reloaded my save and I carried on playing through the game up to the point where the little celebration was happening. I tried to point my gun at Dr. Gray here, which got me a trophy for trying to point a gun at a human being. During this little celebration, I could get another trophy for getting an alternate ending by giving Grace a gift I had found. Once I gave the gift to her, a cutscene played where it's revealed that the whole game was all just the play that Edward, Emily and Grace had watched. Grace was their daughter here, and it was really funny because Emily literally says it was a little hard to follow.
What? You guys didn't like the play?
It was alright. A little difficult to follow.
Like, what the hell, they're literally self-aware that the game's story is crazy, and Edward does also say this.
Let's just say there were moments where it left me alone in the dark.
Oh god.
Say that again?
That's the name of the play.
Whoa, what do you know?
What Just Happened is the name of the trophy I got after that, and it's definitely appropriate here. I reloaded a save I had made again, and beat the game as usual as Emily, which got me another trophy. Next I went for the trophy for talking to everybody in the game. During parts of the game there's easily missable conversations you can have with people. You have to talk to everybody as both Emily and Edward. I was a little bit worried about this trophy since I thought I'd talk to everybody after playing through the game again as Emily. There was one part at the beginning though where you talk to Edward that I didn't recognise after looking up some conversations online. So I went back and played through the beginning of the game, and after talking to him twice, I got the trophy. That definitely could have took a lot longer to get, so I was really happy that was the last one I needed. Next I went for the trophy for reading every clue in the game. I had no idea which one I'd missed, and as I was just opening all of them, I got the trophy after opening the letter Jeremy sent to Emily at the start of the game. It makes sense I missed this since I didn't even know I had it in my inventory at the start. I went for the final secret ending I hadn't done yet next, which was pretty much the most evil ending breaking in the game. I had to leave an offer at the Whispering Tree while playing as Edward, and then during one of the final cutscenes I had to move the camera and Edward just suddenly turns evil, and his face is just so funny here. I'm pretty sure they use this in the trailer as well. In this ending, Emily runs off and ends up escaping Deseto with Ruth. I got a trophy after getting that ending. There are now only 2 trophies left between me and the platinum. There's one for beating the game in under 3 hours, and another one for completing the game without drinking from your flask, which is basically healing. I decided to try to get both of these done in one playthrough. I played as Emily, since I thought I'd rather play through that World War I section than go through Edward's alt case again. And I also put the game on easy mode so enemies would do less damage. I struggled a little bit at the start to know exactly where to go right away, but the game gets a lot more linear as you go on. Honestly, one of the more difficult parts of this run was not accidentally pressing up on the D-pad, since that's all you have to do to heal. I did accidentally press it once after solving this puzzle. I guess I was just pressing the up button while doing it and just forgot, I guess. I reloaded an autosave and hoped that I didn't count that mistake. From there, I carried on playing through the game, avoiding as many fights as I could, and I could have finished the game a little bit faster by going for the Radical Acceptance ending as Emily. You know, the one where you submit to the Dark Man and end up in that temple. Well, I kind of forgot and skipped the cutscenes, so instead I went for the ending where you give Grace a gift, since I could not be asked to fight that boss again, even on easy mode. Once I completed the game, the first trophy that popped was the one for completing it without drinking from your flask, and I was really happy my mistake from earlier wasn't counted. And then I got the one for beating the game in under 3 hours, and after that, the platinum popped. I was actually quite surprised by how quickly I beat the game. My final playtime was under 2 hours. So would I recommend this platinum? Maybe. I think if you enjoy the game, you definitely should. It doesn't really take that long to complete, but I can definitely understand how the collectibles in it could put someone off. And that's overall, I did enjoy this game. The story was a bit complicated and just hard to follow at times, but I did enjoy exploring the manor, and again, it gave me Resident Evil vibes sometimes. There's something about those like Metroidvania elements that I like, of going back to unlock new things in areas you've been to before. And yeah, thanks for watching. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Oh yeah, and also hype the video as well. That would be cool. And I'll see you in the next one.